Hey there! This is a video that I made just recently for my parents, as you can tell from the title. Or from the title, depending on where you're watching this. If you're watching it on a really weird site, maybe the title's even over there. Or maybe the title is in you. It's not in you. A little bit about this video. It's a little rougher than I normally like to put out. Those of you who know me will know that I am a little bit anal retentive about the quality of my videos. But this one is, a little lower on the production value side because I wanted it to be in this case. I didn't want it to be super glitzed out and overdone with all the production value because it's frankly just a dramatic reading of a letter and also didn't need to be very fancy. It's a little fancy, probably a little fancier than it needed to be, but hey, there we go. Without further ado, enjoy the thing I made. To my parents. To my parents. To my parents. To my parents. I spent a great deal of time trying to decide exactly how to do this. Should I do it at the table one day and we can hash it out over hash browns? Perhaps I should take you aside and we could have a thoughtful discussion in a quiet place. Maybe I'll just write it out on a big sign and then leave it somewhere for you to find. I once even fantasized about doing it in like a stand-up routine that I had surreptitiously invited you to under false pretenses. Dial it back, I thought. You don't even have a venue lined up. Ultimately, what I decided on was a letter. Or a video, in this case, but you're not my parents. Unless you are, in which case, you already have a letter, so shut up. Okay? Doing a video now. It's happening. Right now. You can't stop it unless you press the pause button, and then you can stop it. You can also press little X guy. Written word has always been the best format for expressing my thoughts. There's also a certain degree of safety in a letter. You never really feel directly threatened by it. Maybe implied threats, but never direct. The writer is able to express their thoughts sort of at their leisure, and the reader is able to digest those thoughts at their leisure, and everyone can sort of take it at their own pace. And I like that. In case you're not particularly good at spotting a lead-in when you see one, I'm coming out to you. That's fun! Also confusing, because I definitely have a girlfriend. So then the question becomes, what am I coming out as? Which is a perfectly legitimate question. In a society full of all these different taboos trying to break through the soil of legitimacy and the mulch of metaphor, it could be any number of things. So, for your benefit, I have prepared a list of things which I am not coming out as. Getting this one out of the way right now, a woman, not that one. A man, a Republican, a toy schnauzer. 2 smaller men in a trench coat, a communist. 3 men, a drag queen. 4 men, a professional jockey juggler. What is that? Who wrote that? And many, many more. So now that we've established the main point of this letter and diffused some of that initial shock with light humor, it's time to get to the nitty-gritty of why we're here. You see, I'm a fan of the man, but a feminine fancier. I can use screwdrivers and socket wrenches with equal skill. I like the Red Sox and the about as much as I enjoy hamburgers. I am a bipartisan cuddler. I fight the war on two fronts. I burn the candle at both ends. I dance on both sides of the ballroom. La la la. Frank Miller's 300 was a pretty good movie for me all around. I'm bisexual, is what I'm getting at here. Bisexual. Now that's a big thing to go around saying, and it's also a thing that raises a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to deal with a few of those right here. Just right here. Gonna knock out a few big ones while we're at this. Was that dirty? Why are you telling us this? Well, the biggest reason is that it's important to me. My bisexuality is a pretty big part of who I am, and there's been a lot of self-censorship over the years because I wasn't ready to talk about it. Now, I've got years of experience selectively not talking about myself. I'm pretty masterful, if I do say so, but this has always felt like something that should get aired out now and again, especially around my parents? Yes, especially around my parents. I'm really not the kind of person to, like, begin and end every sentence about it, but it also seems like it doesn't feel right hiding a part of myself that is that big, even if it's only by omission. Why hadn't you already told us about this? Short answer, I wasn't ready. Long answer, I initially made the conscious decision to wait, as a sort of courtesy to you while I still lived in your house. But let me make something clear right away. Right away. I have never once had any fear of rejection because of this. While I've never been totally sure of what your comfort level would be, I was never once worried that you would react so negatively it would dissolve our entire relationship. But guys, we are awkward people. We are very awkward people. We don't always deal with our problems with upfront and frank communication. It can take us some real time to sort through things like this, and it always seems like we do it best on our own. This in mind, I figured unpacking the idea of your bisexual son doing bisexual things with people who may or may not be female might be hard enough on its own without him walking in front of you every day, reminding you about this new, possibly weird, scary thing in your life. So I waited. Then I moved out, and I was suddenly out of excuses, but I still waited. I did this partially because, as mentioned above, I still didn't know how to do this. It's a big thing. You have to understand. It's really, really big, and I wanted to make sure that it had just the right level of genuine expression and characteristic flair that I'm known for. The other major part of it was a general feeling of anxiety about the whole thing. Baseless anxiety, certainly, but telling you this means change, and change itself can be scary. Despite my wanting to be out with you on this, it's still a part of my life I'm not used to letting you in on. And I'm still not sure that you won't try to, rearrange the furniture or something of my orientation. That doesn't make sense. Write that out. That's a bad metaphor. You're reading or watching this now, though, so I've clearly dealt with that, and here we are. Me in a video, tiny box, you watching a video in I hope, a comfy chair. I have nothing else to say about this one. Moving on. How long have you been bisexual? A whole life! Looking back, even as a child of about 6 or 7, I can remember having signs of what I would later recognize as bisexuality, even if I didn't know it at the time. I'll spare you the details. I probably pushed it with the hamburger joke earlier. There are moments in most of the stages of my life that I can look back on and say, yeah, I was pretty attracted to boys. Obviously, I didn't understand that at the time, so I found ways of subsuming those feelings into other easier to digest ideas. I had crushes on boys, but passed them off as deep, deep friendships. After I hit puberty, I began to have the odd fantasy. I alternately blamed it on the devil and quietly internalized it as proof that homosexuality was a dangerous, corruptible force. At one point, deep into this rationalization process, at the age of probably about 16 or so, I had a very brief crisis which involved me coming to terms with some feelings I had tried very hard not to have. Eventually, I passed it by assuring myself, I can't be gay. I like boobs too much. Ah, simpler times they were. But maybe you're more after the idea of how long I've been actively bisexual or been aware of my sexuality. If that's the case, then I can actually nail it down to a single night talking with a friend of mine who you may know. This friend, as you may or may not be aware, is bisexual, and was the first bisexual friend I ever had. It was she who gave me the example of a third solution to my problem, and it wasn't long after that night that I came around to it myself. I was 19 at the time, and suddenly a part of my world that had remained dark and mysterious and even a little bit scary now made just a little more sense. Who else knows? Mostly everyone. Mickey knows, most of my college friends know, Rachel definitely knows, told her first. Her mom also knows, but, that was more recent. My policy is to never go around shouting it from the rooftops, but also never hide it. Except in cases where I thought it might be received especially poorly. Or if they were my parents, in which case, see above. And even then, only if it going really poorly mattered to me at all. Incidentally, if you're one of these people seeing this video and it's going really poorly for you, you may not matter. Just consider that for a moment before you write nasty comments. Okay, but what's going to change now? Truthfully, not a great deal. I'm already in a committed relationship with a wonderful woman, and I don't really foresee that ending in the next 60 years or so. It seems unlikely that you'll have to deal with the truly awkward parts, like meeting my new boyfriend or trying to grapple with the fact that we kiss sometimes. What it really means is that I'm going to be more open with you. When I share my opinion on things like sexuality, equal rights, or things of that nature, I'm no longer just doing it as a straight ally who can have these opinions from a safe distance, but still also get married to a nice girl and have grandchildren and all of that. Now I'm doing it as a bisexual person who can still do all of those things, actually, but is now in the thick of it. The recent Supreme Court ruling didn't just make me happy because now I have friends who can get married, but because it also directly affected me and my rights. The fact that the United States at large doesn't consider orientation a protected class also affects me, and could actually lose me a job one day, which is awful. Seriously. When people refer to LGBT persons as perverted or satanic or any other frighteningly large number of pejorative terms out there for LGBT persons, it affects me as well because I'm a part of that. In summary, this is the sum total of what changes. Now you know I'm a part of that. No, but really, why are you telling us this? We really don't want to hear about your sex stuff. That's the thing, though. This is not about my sex stuff. Believe me, I'm leaving out a whole lot of stuff because it is sex stuff, and that doesn't belong in this video. We're not talking about that. We're talking about me as a human being being romantically attracted to a variety of people, including those of my own gender. People don't watch romantic comedies for the sex stuff, and if you do, there are better places for that, guy. Seriously, why? But that's probably actually a pretty good analogy. I'm not in this video telling you about the HBO part of my life. I'm telling you about the You've Got Mail part, because that's the part that's important for me to share. Have you had any, like, boyfriends we don't know about? I mean, not as such, but, remember John from karate class? Not from karate class. Took me out on a date. Paid for dinner. It was very cute. Sorry about that. Wait. No, hold on. Back up. I'm confused. How can you be both bisexual and have a girlfriend? Please hold off and explain that to me. Oh, mighty bisexual wizard. I know, right? Here you were thinking that you were safe, in the clear, because your son was in a solid, healthy, heterosexual relationship. And now he blindsides you with this. This may or may not be a thing you are actually struggling with, and if not, great. Skip this one. I'm including it because it's something I hear often enough that I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be a problem. In fact, most of the rest of these will be like that, so just kind of bounce around until you find one you're interested in. This is a question that's rooted in a misunderstanding of that sex stuff question we had earlier. The idea that people of alternate sexuality are just all about that sweet, sweet lovin'. But sexuality isn't just sex. It's an attraction and all that implies. Romantic, emotional, and yes, even sexual. But being with a woman doesn't make me straight. Not even functionally straight, whatever that means. I am attracted to men. I am attracted to women. Who I am dating does not change that. If you don't believe me, just ask Rachel about our conversations over Benedict Cumberbatch. Please do not actually do that, it will mortify her. What difficulties and or discrimination have you faced because you are bisexual? I'm fortunate enough that I haven't really experienced a whole lot of direct discrimination over my sexuality. I chalk it up to choosing my circle of friends very carefully and not, talking about it all the time. That said, it doesn't mean it never happens. I have been told that men cannot be bisexual, but somehow women can. It's even been insisted that I'm really just heteroflexible and not actually bisexual. And I've even had people turn me down for dates over just that reason, nothing else. Literally just, hey Tom, you're a pretty cool guy, but I don't know if I can deal with the fact that you're bisexual. Not cool. These are my experiences, and they are deeply buried between lots more happy memories connected to my orientation. And taken as a whole, they don't really bother me. I've been incredibly lucky to not experience a lot of what I hear out there. I've gotten some real horror stories of friends being told that they need to, pick a side or stop being so greedy. It's still a common thing to look down at your nose for a bisexual person and say that they're actually a gay or lesbian person and they just can't admit it to themselves yet. This, on top of all the regular abuse a person can get for being gay. What's worse is that sentiments like these can come from both straight and gay communities. It's the half-breed problem. Neither group can completely identify with us, so both can be a little uncomfortable sometimes. I am going to cap this off by reminding you that I haven't experienced most of this personally. By and large, my life as a bisexual has been pretty great. Does this mean you can't be monogamous? Grandbabies. It absolutely does not mean that at all in any way. Think about it this way. Hypothesize that you're married. If you are married, excellent. You're already a step ahead. Now, when you get married, do other people suddenly stop being attractive to you? No, of course not. Mom, I've seen your romance novels. Dad, you're a human being. And yet, the both of you manage to not sleep with every single person that you find yourself attracted to, even if that attraction is very genuine, which, by the way, good for you guys. You guys are with each other for reasons beyond scratching that sexual itch, and it works the exact same way for me. I'm with Rachel for reasons beyond sexual, and those reasons are more than enough to keep me exclusive to her. If I do one day cheat on her, it won't be because I'm bisexual. It will be because I am an asshole. Way to be an asshole, alternate universe Tom. Are you sure you're not just, like, actually gay or, like, confused? Yes. Very sure. Some people do use bisexuality as a way of easing into their gayness. Some people use it as a way to justify exploration. Some just use it as a method of getting attention. I can assure you, I am none of these things. Does this mean we have to be pro-gay rights? You don't have to be anything but my parents. Can we just, like, not talk about this, though? Because it is super uncomfortable. You can talk about it or not talk about it as much as you like, I guess. Part of what this video signifies, though, is that I'm going to start talking about it like it's a normal part of my life. Because it is. So, there you have it. Your son is bisexual. The elder one. I don't know anything about your middle child. One or more of you may be crying. That is an understandable reaction. One or more of you may somehow feel like retroactively crappy parents because of this revelation. That is also understandable, though unfounded. Make a note about that one. One or more of you may be hungry, which is further understandable, though likely unrelated to the topic at hand. Go eat. Preserve homeostasis. What I do want you to come away with is this. For me, this does not dramatically change our relationship. You are still my parents. I am still your son. Just a son who's being a hair more honest about himself than he normally is. It's my hope that this letter/video letter thing will have a similar effect for you. Gushy salutation at the end. Gushy salutation at the end. Gushy salutation at the end. Tom.